Hello and welcome inside the Sports Sermon. I am Dylan Staggy here today with Jason Gandhi and Dan Majors. And as you can tell by the title, we are back for another NFL team preview. And today we are talking about the Baltimore Ravens. So last year the Ravens finished at 9-7 and just missed out on the playoffs after an Andy Dalton game-winning touchdown to knock them out. In this offseason, they made some interesting moves. They drafted Lamar Jackson at the 32nd pick in the draft to be Joe Flacco's replacement at some point down the road and completely revamped their wide receiving core, signing Michael Crabtree, John Brown, and Willie Snead. But they did not do anything on the defensive side, and that is my first question for you guys. After making almost no moves to improve the defense in free agency, can the Ravens still get it done on that side of the ball this year?
Yeah, I'm never going to question the Ravens when it comes to defense. They are always successful defensively, and they're just a very grit and grind type team. They were 21st in total yards last year. I think they'll be right around that this year, high teens, early 20s. But yeah, I don't think their defense – I just don't think this team really does anything for me besides one position, which I'll talk about later. It's just kind of an average football team, a 7-9, 8-8 team, and I think the defense goes right along with that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see why they can't be that great this year. They were fifth in points allowed and third in pass defense last year. It should be the same as they will be a top 5 to 10 defense this year.
Yeah, I expect a slight dip in production because a lot of these guys are getting older, like Terrell Suggs going into his 15th or 16th season, I believe, this year. I could really see the defensive line struggling, though. But the rush defense and sacks are what they struggled the most with last year. I am a fan of the secondary, though. Jimmy Smith, Eric Weddle, Tony Jefferson, those guys should have a solid season back there. So I expect it to be about the same for the Ravens, but maybe a little slightly worse since these guys are getting a little bit older. But we did talk about in the intro the wide receiver pickups of Michael Crabtree, Willie Snead, and John Brown. And the Ravens have had some wide receiver problems in the past. Do you think these signings will help to solve that for Joe Flacco?
Yeah, I love the Crabtree signing. I think Snead and Brown can be anywhere between wide receiver 2 to wide receiver 4 options. If they work out, great. If not, I don't think it's going to kill this team. But I love the fit for Crabtree with Flacco. He's one of the best receivers to go up and get the ball still. And he's got insane body control where he is always able to keep his body in bounds. Flacco's missed that number 1 target since Anquan Bolden and Jacoby Jones in that Super Bowl year. And I think this is going to be a perfect connection with Flacco and Crabtree all season long.
I don't think everything is fixed for them. They still ranked 29th in passing a year ago. I don't think these additions will be enough to make a big difference from last year. Definitely, I think it'll be a difference, but not huge. As it'll still be, I think the offense still has a long way to go.
Yeah, I really do like the pickups for all of them. Jason, you mentioned Michael Crabtree. I really like the John Brown signing because of that deep threat. Flacco does have a big arm and really hasn't been able to use it over these past few years. And John Brown is a very speedy guy. He can get down the field and hopefully take over that Jacoby Jones role like you mentioned.
That's actually exactly what I was going to go mention right there. They're building this team a lot like they had it in 2012 when they went to the Super Bowl and won, because you just mentioned how he's going to fill that role. Anquan Bolden, Michael Crabtree, Willie Snead, Torrey Smith, where they can kind of do both, and then you've got that Jacoby Jones deep threat, and you've got this John Brown deep threat. So yeah, right as you were talking, I was popped into my head. I was like, hey, this is a lot like the 2012 team. It's going to come down to the running game. Can they keep it balanced enough to let Flacco air it out? But like I said, we were talking about the defense. I think this team is just very average. But if I'm a Ravens fan, the one thing I'm excited to see is the fireworks with Flacco airing it out.
Yeah, they also picked up Hayden Hurst at the tight end position.
Yep.
Solid draft pick. Right there, another weapon for Flacco. Overall, though, I think Flacco is still going to be Flacco.
He's elite.
No, not elite. So
He's getting paid elite quarterback money, that's for sure.
yeah, well,
I mean, I guess he was at the time. It's probably not that. I don't know what his contract is, but it's probably not that great anymore.
He's still on that contract. He has a couple more years.
But I'm saying, like, now I don't feel like it's probably that good.
This is a contract year for him.
I thought it was.
No,
too.
I think he has one more year after that. Then they haven't.
I'm pretty sure it's a contract year for him.
I thought it was because that's why they got Lamar. Because that goes into the next question about Lamar.
Yeah,
I'm with Dan on that.
No.
You're right. I was under the impression he was contract year.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Dude, I swear it's a contract year for him.
So he has one more year in 2019, and then the Ravens can cut him after 2019 and only have to pay him $8 million
They have an out
for 2020.
But they can just cut him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, they did draft Lamar Jackson in the first round this year. So, what would you guys do if you are John Harbaugh to try and get Lamar Jackson on the field in the short term and definitely the long term?
Well, first, shout out John Harbaugh. I just got a flag from him yesterday, signed. It's a Garen Catholic flag with him signing in the middle. One of our friends is moving, and they found it, and so I could have it. So shout out John Harbaugh. Wanted to put that in here with the Raven podcast. But yeah, if I'm John Harbaugh, short term, I think for Lamar, I would just give him some packages that fit him and keep the defense on their toes. Give him some options, just that kind of stuff. Just kind of keep defense on their toes. It's the middle, week 8, week 9. They're 6-3, 4-5. They needed some sort of jump start. I think that's really what he's going to do this year. Long term, though, I think this is Flacco's year to prove it. If he cannot show that he is elite or he's just a starting quarterback in this league that can take a playoff team far, I think they've got the piece to move on. I mean, the writing's on the wall for Flacco. We talked about this with the Dolphins, how I said that's what the Dolphins should do next year for Tannehill. I think it's the same thing with Flacco right now, that they drafted his replacement. It's a matter of how long do we wait, and it all depends on Flacco.
Right, looking at the Joe Flacco perspective, I say he has two motivations this year, and one is that it's kind of a contract year for him, like we just talked about, with that they can just cut him. And then two is that Lamar Jackson will be behind him. The last time Joe Flacco had a contract year, he won the Super Bowl. And I think Joe Flacco could be great and really help this team, but if he's bad, then Jackson could be in. I'd be ready to play Jackson if needed.
I don't think there's any way he comes in like middle of the season. I think he's definitely like not starting one game this year personally.
Yeah,
unless he gets hurt, obviously.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I just really don't think Lamar Jackson is ready yet to be an NFL quarterback. Obviously,
put him at receiver.
Yeah. I mean, he was great in college, but he's just not an NFL quarterback right now. And I see it more of a mid-season next year kind of thing, where Flacco, if he's not great and the Ravens aren't great, you might need to look at getting him some experience before it's probably his job in 2020. I mean, I don't think the Ravens are going to sign Flacco to another extension. So I think after that, it's definitely Lamar Jackson's team. I don't see Flacco signing a new contract.
I think if Flacco isn't playing well early and the Ravens still have a chance to make the playoffs, and the reason why they wouldn't be able to make the playoffs is because of Flacco, I don't see why not. Why don't you try Jackson?
I don't think that's the situation in which that happens. I don't think Flacco is I think if they're making the playoffs, it's partially because of Joe Flacco. Like, the offense is going to have to be playing well. It's like, going back to the first question, the defense isn't good enough to carry them without an offense. So if they are going to be a playoff team, it's going to be because of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, this is not 2012 Ravens, not 2000 Ravens, where they carried Joe Flacco and Trent Dilfer to Super Bowls.
Trent Dilfer, what a dude.
Even though Flacco did have a great playoffs in 2012. But,
yeah. Question for you guys, though. If Joe Flacco goes out and balls this year, what do you do next year? Do you trade Lamar Jackson?
No.
How old is Flacco?
Do you trade Joe Flacco? What do you do with Flacco next year?
Flacco is 33 years old currently.
He's probably got 4 or 5 years max.
I think you definitely have to keep Jackson. I think.
No, I think.
So if he balls out, not like MVP, but like puts them at 10-6, make the playoffs, go to the divisional round. Like, he plays good.
No, I think your long-term plan is set in stone right now. After.
Well, I'm saying next year. What's the plan? What do you do?
Next year, I think you look at it. Flacco's your guy.
But then Mama Jackson is not going to have her son / client, because he's their agent. No way Lamar Jackson sits for more than 1 year.
I mean,
that dude wouldn't play receiver, much less sit behind. Like,
that's a completely different thing.
He would have gotten on the field this year if he was a receiver. A team would have drafted him to play this year.
That's because you play 4 or 5 receivers. You only play one quarterback.
Well, my point is there's no way that the Jackson family lets Lamar Jackson sit for multiple years behind Joe Flacco.
I don't think they have a choice.
They definitely do have a choice. It takes 3 words. They're 4 words. I demand a trade. Like, it's not. That's what I'm saying. Do you think there will be an issue if Flacco plays well? Will we have to start? Will you have to be in the situation of pick one next year?
No, I don't think so. I think you go with Flacco as your man, and if he struggles, then bring in Lamar.
What would you do?
I would trade Lamar Jackson then. If Flacco puts us back in a playoff level, trade Lamar. I'm not sold on Lamar anyway. I don't think he's going to be a starting caliber quarterback. I think he'll be a below average starter, and he's going to be like a. I mean, Tyrod Taylor. I don't like Tyrod Taylor. I think he can throw 5 8-yard routes, but he's never going to win you games. Like, he's just going to do enough. And if Flacco shows, Flacco did it in 2012. Say what you want about him, but he balled out in 2012 playoffs. And if he shows that he can do it again this year and he has a little revival, the team's good enough where they could make the playoffs. So, like, it's not like this is a rebuilding year.
But
I get rid of Lamar Jackson. I'm not sold on him. I don't think the Ravens are sold on him. I think it was a matter of, hey, we can get his replacement. He fell to us. We have a lot of picks. Let's trade up. I don't think it was we're going to take this guy no matter what. It wasn't like they took him number 3. You know what I'm saying? Right. This isn't like a Darnold situation.
You took him in the first round, though.
Yeah, but you don't.
The guy that took him's gone.
You don't spend
the GM that's taken him is gone. So like the new GM
you don't spend a first-round pick just to trade him away the next year.
Right.
He didn't spend the first-round pick. That's what I'm saying. The new GM might come in and go, I don't really like Lamar. And Joe Flacco played well. That's why I don't think.
But when a new GM comes in, it's more like, I'm going to make this my team. And Flacco's a guy from like generations back.
No, if a GM comes in to make it your team, you're not going with a guy that's barely a conventional quarterback in the NFL. If I'm a new GM, I'm not banking on Lamar Jackson in the NFL to keep my job. I would take the veteran that's named as Joe Flacco, and I would try to trade Lamar for a first-round, second-round, third-round pick.
Okay, but what's your goal for, like, the next few years or the future?
This is in the situation, if Joe Flacco plays well this year, they're a playoff contender. They are a playoff team.
Okay, but they're not a Super Bowl contending team.
No, but they are the same team they've been in the last few years, where they're in the playoffs, lose first, second round.
I don't think I'd want that.
You tell me Lamar Jackson.
They've only made.
Hold on.
They haven't made the playoffs.
Lamar Jackson helps for the future.
You think that Lamar Jackson's a Super Bowl contending quarterback?
No,
I don't either. And Joe Flacco can be. That's why if I am a new GM,
for these next few years, yeah. But then Lamar Jackson's got to develop.
Lamar Jackson's not going to wait 5 years to play. It is going to be a rare situation in which you get a guy like Aaron Rodgers who is willing to sit and wait and wait and wait and then play. Jimmy Garoppolo was the closest thing to it, and even he got traded. Like, these guys do not want to wait. The guys that are coming into the league now want to play, especially if they're a first-round pick. Lamar Jackson has got the biggest chip on his shoulder besides Josh Rosen as a quarterback. He wants to play, if not year one, because of the situation year two. As a GM or coach, I don't think Flacco plays well this season. I think he plays fine. I think him and Crabtree have a good connection. I don't think this happens. But in this scenario, that's why I asked the question, if he does play at a top 10, top 12 quarterback in this league, you're comfortable getting rid of him and going with a guy that people didn't even know if he could be a quarterback in the league at all.
Worst comes to worst. Worst comes to worst.
I'm
still going with Jackson, though. I mean, the Ravens have only made the playoffs one time in the last 5 years.
But why are you high on Jackson? Like, why is Lamar Jackson?
Give him a chance.
I'm not even high on Jackson.
This is what I'm
you
saying.
You got to move on to the future at some point.
But this team isn't rebuilding. This is not a rebuilding team. If you're rebuilding,
they're
you're not
going to
bringing
be
in Michael
rebuilding
Crabtree.
very soon. Very soon they're going to be rebuilding.
Flacco's not going to be playing forever.
He's 33. He's got 5 years left.
Not 5 good years. His 5 past years haven't even been good.
But this is where I'm missing you on. You're telling me as a new GM coming in, you're going to go, Lamar Jackson is my guy. A guy that 10 teams in this league were not sure could play the position at all. And you got a guy that now in this situation plays well at age 33. He's got 4 or 5 good years left. You got Michael Crabtree back, who's got a contract with him, and you've got good chemistry. So you've got a number one receiver who likes him. You've got hopefully some sort of running game that's built consistently and a defense. This team in this situation makes the playoffs. You're going to say, hey, I'm coming in. Let's go with a guy that 20 teams wanted as a quarterback. The other 10 couldn't see him as anything else but a receiver.
See, that's why I think you have Flacco as your next year, too. But then be willing to bring in Lamar Jackson in the middle of the season if he plays bad.
I think you guys are taking out the personality and the emotional side of this, where I don't think Lamar Jackson's willing to wait, and I don't think it is as smooth of a transition as, Flacco, you're not going to play. We saw Eli Manning's whole issue in New York.
That was on draft night. That's not a year later.
That was week 13 when he got benched or whatever. It was against the Raiders.
Oh, I thought you were talking about his draft when he got drafted.
No, I'm saying last year we saw this when Eli Manning got benched for one game. It was
I think
like he
Eli
died
Manning-
on the floor. Like it was like he got shot and was dead. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Eli!" Like he was horrible and played bad. Just imagine if Flacco, who is playing good in this situation, gets benched. Like that's the only reason I'm saying this is because I think we are discounting how much of an ego and I guess chip on the shoulder that Lamar Jackson has. I don't think that guy is willing to wait. It just doesn't seem like that because we saw how arrogant he was in the pre-draft process. There was rumor teams couldn't meet with him. Like I just think there's a little more not on the field stuff with Lamar Jackson. Where as a new GM, maybe I say, you know what, Jackson wasn't our guy because you're not going to see him this year. I think we all agreed, right? Like we don't think he gets on the court or on the field. I keep saying the court. He gets on the field much. Trade and move on to next year. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's just.
I mean, I think he definitely gets on the field some, and you get to see how he plays some. So
I think this year he does.
Some, yeah.
I mean, you'll have a better idea, like just from practice and preseason and all that stuff. Anyway.
We'll have a better idea of it.
Yeah, I mean that's why I like preseason. We'll get to see. I mean, he'll be coming in second team defenses, and if he can't do that this year, we'll see.
All right, so I want your guys' record prediction, place in the division, and whether the Ravens can make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, so I run through the schedule, and the Ravens have a brutal 6-game stretch with 5 playoff teams early in the season. But they do close the season against 3 non-playoff teams from last year's. But those teams are the Bucs, Chargers, and Browns. The Bucs people thought would be a playoff team last year. The Chargers are the favorites to win the West this year. And the Browns, everyone knows, has made a lot of improvements. So their schedule is far from favorable. I have them at best 8-8. That's where I have them. I think Crabtree and Flacco find some sort of consistency. I think them at 8-8, second in the division, and there's no way they make the playoffs unless the AFC for some reason sucks. But I don't think there's any way that happens.
Yeah, I'm right with you on that. I have 8-8, second in the division, can't make playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I have 8-8 also, but I think they do have the potential to go into the playoffs. Again, a lot of it depends on Flacco. I think these weapons will definitely help him.
Do you think 8-8 is good enough to get in the playoffs, or you're saying
no?
Okay.
I'm saying that if they have the potential to win a couple more games, kind of like they did last year. Again, they were one play away, and I think their team is overall a little bit better. Again, their defense has to defy age a little bit and keep that same production from last year, and I think they could potentially be a playoff team. But
I don't see the ceiling. I think is where we just differ there. I think 8-8 is their ceiling. Like there's a lot of question marks besides. I mean, even the Flacco Crabtree that I'm so high on is a question mark. Crabtree is not exactly a quiet guy if he doesn't get the ball. Who knows? I think there are a lot of question marks in Baltimore, and luckily they have a coach like John Harbaugh who can somewhat right the ship. So we'll see. AFC North is going to be a weird division to say the least. It's just got a lot of storylines and question marks on every team.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that is going to do it for today. Make sure you guys subscribe if you want to see the rest of our NFL previews. Also follow us on Twitter at the Sports Sermon, sports with a Z, of course. And that is all we have for today's Baltimore Ravens preview. And we will see you guys with some more NFL previews soon.